is so hot. The debate is going to be hot.
I thought the news was
That's the conversation.
Hi, I'm Todd Purdom.
And I'm Dee Dee Myers.
And we're here with another Capitol conversation post-convention. Well, Dee Dee, Denver and St. Paul are over, and in some ways the race seems to have been remade.
In an utterly unpredictable way, the announcement that Sarah Palin, the governor of Alaska, would be John McCain's running mate has completely turned the conventional wisdom on its head. John McCain decided that this wasn't going to be a race about experience versus change. It was going to be a race about change versus change, and whose definition of change, and his sort of doubling down this idea of himself and his running mate as reformers, as people who will shake things up, seems to be paying off.
So her mere presence in the race has really shifted the dynamic. Now this week, everybody's waiting to hear from her in her first interview. Apparently it's going to be with Charlie Gibson of ABC World News Tonight up in Alaska. How important is it that she perform credibly in these interviews with the press and presumably eventually maybe a news conference or two?
Right. I think it's critical that she perform credibly, but I don't think she will necessarily have to do a news conference. Maybe she will, maybe she won't. I think they're going to let this string run out a little bit. She has shown that she can give a set speech, that she can stand in front of a crowd at a rally. She's only done one interview, that was with People magazine, and so, they do need to take that next step and let her sit down with the journalist. I think the odds are she'll do just fine.
In St. Paul, she was clearly more popular with the delegates than the nominee himself.
Right.
Is it a risk that she'll overshadow John McCain as the campaign goes forward?
It's fascinating because she was supposed to go back to Alaska already. But instead, McCain asked her to stay on because the things were working so well with them on the stump together. The danger for him is that she leaves and all the air goes out of his balloon, and all of a sudden it's back to a debate between Barack Obama and John McCain, and he doesn't look as good. On the other hand, she may have so fundamentally altered the underlying dynamics and the enthusiasm within the base of the Republican Party and out a little bit more towards its edges that who knows.
One of the things that we see is how compressed this general election campaign is going to be. It's only going to be 8 weeks. Election's 8 weeks from Tuesday. So there's really no room for error. If somebody makes a big mistake that lasts for 5 or 6 days in the news cycle, that's pretty hard to recover from.
Right.
They've got 4 debates.
Right. And again, I think it highlights the high-stakes gamble that putting someone like Sarah Palin on the ticket was for John McCain. She's unknown. That's, I think, the big risk about her. She's shown that she can, again, perform credibly, and that she's obviously struck a chord and with a lot of voters, men and women. But if something goes wrong, that could become the focus of the campaign. On the other hand, getting through 60 days is not as hard as getting through 6 months or 18 months, as you have to do if you're running for president. And so, can the McCain campaign shield her from really high-stakes, risky kinds of appearances by the press or other things? Or will they let her do more and more as she performs well? We'll see.
The Republicans have done something that's pretty traditional, which is they've gone on a big jag of press bashing.
Right.
I'm not sure that really works, though. Don't you think it's pretty fair to ask about Governor Palin's record and her background? She's practically unknown. I mean, whatever you think about Barack Obama, he's been running a national campaign for 19 months of a huge organization in 50 states. I mean, that's managerial experience right there.
It's managerial experience, and more importantly, it's been an opportunity for him to lay out his positions and to get up to speed on a lot of issues that maybe he didn't deal with.
Foreign policy question.
Exactly. There's almost no question he hasn't answered. But do I think it's fair for the press to demand answers and to look at her record? Absolutely. Do I think that the Republican media bashing strategy is effective? Yes. Because the media is, the only institution in American life that's less reputable right now is Congress. American public doesn't necessarily trust the press. They don't see them as a objective player, but sometimes it's putting their thumb on the scale, and they think they put their thumb on the scale on the side of looking too harshly at Sarah Palin and her family.
Well, when John McCain talks about those low congressional approval ratings, he says with ratings like that, you're down to paid staff and blood relatives, which is a little bit like we have to support each other here at VF.com. It's clearly a tighter race. It seems like it might be a tight race for a while this fall. If you were the Obama campaign now, would you be worried, or would you just stay calm with the strategy you've had up to now?
Well, I'd be nervous as hell. But I would try to focus on the fundamentals. This is still an election year that fundamentally seems to favor Democrats. People want change. They seem to prefer Democratic policies by a substantial margin. They seem to have confidence in Barack Obama. And yet, I think they've got to look for ways to try to move it off of Sarah Palin. One of the things you're hearing from the Obama campaign is I think ultimately this will be a choice between Barack Obama and John McCain, and that running mates end up playing less of a role come November than they do in the wake of the conventions. But we'll see. This is one of those choices that's upended expectations and changed the game.
One of the things that seems completely clear is that a week from now we'll know something we don't know today. We'll be totally surprised all over again. Stick right here at VF.com for another Capitol Conversation.
See you next week.